All right, well, let's take a look at the circular flow model that I was talking about in the last video. And the reason I divided these two videos out is like this video might be something that you want to go back to. You might not need to go through all the rational economic thinking stuff because you're probably already going to know it. But the circular flow of income model is really important because it is a pretty complicated look at a macroeconomy. And the way that we're going to think about it is we're going to pretend like we're looking down at a country. So if you think about whatever country it is that you live in, and think about like being above it and being able to see everything, like you're flying over a plane, in a plane, or like you're kind of like suspended in a balloon, maybe looking down at all of South Africa, right? All of Somalia, all of Saudi Arabia, all of Thailand, all of the United States, all of the United Kingdom, okay? And what you're going to do then is you are going to see all this economic activity that's going on. You're going to see people going and buying things and producers producing things and like trucks arriving and like, imagine it an island, maybe like the United Kingdom, and like there's ships coming in and ships going out and all this economic activity. And then you're going to try to figure out how to like take that and put it into a model that's manageable for our brains, because that's not manageable for our brains, okay? So let's take a look at this very, very cool circular flow model that comes to us from Jason Welker. Jason Welker is an excellent economics teacher. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. He's an IB teacher, an AP teacher in Switzerland, and he put together this circular flow model, and I'm using it, and I got to give him a bunch of credit because it's the best that I've seen anywhere that I've looked, okay? So a couple things to look at in terms of the circular flow model just to take a look at, or just to get our minds around first. The first thing I want to say is like, this is the most sophisticated circular flow model. A lot of textbooks will have sort of like a watered down or a simplified version of this. And my opinion is like, you can handle all of this information. I don't have to give you half of it and then like give you the other half later on. The other thing is that this concept right here is actually a macroeconomic concept. So as you move from microeconomics to macroeconomics, you need to know this information for your studies in macroeconomics. But in order for us to understand our microeconomic activity, this again is providing a foundational understanding of how and which an economy works, and then we'll look at just the micro part of it, okay? So the first thing I want you to look at is just this households and firms, okay? And you'll see that this is a circle, right? Just follow me for a second. The first thing I want you to do is I just want you to see that there's a circle here, okay? And you'll see at the bottom that there's something called the banking sector. Ignore that for now. You'll see in the middle there's something called the government sector. Ignore that for now. And at the top there's something called the foreign sector. Ignore that for now. When I finish this video, you'll understand all of those topics, okay? But I'm going to start off really simply. And economists like to make things really simple, and that's cool. And what I want you to realize is that every economic story begins in a household. And the reason it begins in a household is that's where we wake up every morning. Like we all wake up in a bed, in a house, somewhere, apartment, somewhere, right? Our home. And so I'm going to go through this whole scenario, and I'm going to use like me as the example. And we're going to see how I go to work and I earn money, and then I take that money and I go buy other stuff, and then those people go buy other stuff, and all of a sudden you have a whole flow of income, okay? So here's where the story begins. The story is going to begin in the household with me. I'm going to get up, right? And I'm going to go off to my job as an IB economics teacher in Santiago, okay? And so here I am right here, right, in my household, and I'm going to take my labor and I'm going to go over to my school. I know I passed a bunch of words. I'm going to come back to those words in a second, okay? And what do I do at the school? I work all day. And let's imagine that at the end of the day, the head of school is standing outside of the school and he hands me $100. That's my pay for the day. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to go home. So I get in my van and I drive back home, and in my pocket I have the payment for what? My work that day. What is that payment called? Well, I got up in the morning and I sold my labor, right, because I'm a worker, to the school that I work at, and as a result, I received, and it's green for a reason, because it's money, right? And I received money, there it is. I was a factor of production for the school I work at, right? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, that's right. I was a factor of what? Labor for the school. And as a result of selling my labor, I got money and I took back my, and the word that we use in economics for money earned by selling your labor is wages. And I took my wages and I went back home, okay? In my van. So I get home, I'm in my van and I'm thinking, ooh, wait a minute, I'm hungry. Okay, so what do I have to do? Well, I don't have a farm, so I have to go buy my food. Where do I go buy my food? At the grocery store. So I get back in my van and away I go and I drive all the way to, there's a grocery store chain here in Chile called Jumbo. And I go to Jumbo and what do? I buy the makings for my salad. I love salad. What did I get? Oh, let's think about it for a second. I get lettuce. I get some tomatoes. I get some feta cheese. I get some olives. I get some capers. I get some olive oil. I get some vinegar. Whoo, maybe I sprinkle in some sun-dried tomatoes. And oh my goodness gracious, I have the best salad ever. And then what do? I get back in my van and I drive home. And I make my salad. Okay. So what happened in an economic standpoint? Well, I took my money that I earned from my school, right? I brought back to my household. Then I took it in my pocket and I went all the way to Jumbo. I drove down the hill. I came back. I left some money there. Let's just say, for now, I'd say, whatever. I spent my money there and I have the output. What's output? Well, output is what this grocery store produces, which in this case is all the makings of the salad. And my money that I took from my job would be revenues for that firm. And I take the output, which are goods, right? The salad makings, it could be services, but we're just talking about goods, and I go back home, okay? That's kind of it in terms of your first basic understanding of the circular flow of income. What did I do? I got up and I went and I sold my job, I sold my labor, and I got income, and I went back home. Then I took the money that I earned and I went to the grocery store, and let's say I spent it all, and I left that in another firm. And what did I do? I went back with my goods and services and I ate it. My income flowed where? Into the income, the revenue of the firm. And I went back home with goods and services. Now I have no money. What do I have to do? I got to get back up in the morning. I got to work again. And then I go back home and then I go to the store. Okay. And on and on and on. Okay. So if you look at that right there, I created like a flow, right? And if you think for a second that this were like a pipe with water flowing in it, right? And the water flowing in the pipe is money, circular flow of income. It's a circular flow of money going around an economy. Sweet. If all of the money that I earned stayed in my pocket and then I spent all of my money in one particular place, it would look like that, okay? That's step one of understanding the circular flow model. Now, that's not true, okay? Which is where the banking sector, the government sector, and this foreign sector come in. And when we add those to the mix, we'll have a beautiful understanding of the circular flow of income model, not just for our studies here in microeconomics, but for your studies in the next course that you may take, which is macroeconomics, okay? So let's create the story again, and then we're gonna add some reality to it, because the truth is I don't actually take all the money home. I actually save some money every month. So start from the beginning. I get up, I go to work, right? I work all day, I get my $100, and then I come back, but figuratively, before I go home, what do? I stop by the bank, and what do? I leave $20 in the bank, okay? Then what? Then I go home, so now $20 is what? Where is it? Is it in the circular flow model? No. What did it do? It broke out. There's a leak. There's a leak in the pipe. Ah! Yeah, that leak in the pipe is actually a term called leakages. And leakages are an official economic term that's for money that comes out of the circular flow model. It comes into the bank and it stops. I don't have it anymore. If I were to go to the bank, if I were to go to the grocery store, right, to look for salad, I don't have $20 now. Why? Because I left it in the bank on the way home. So I got home now and I only have $80. Okay. Now the other thing that happens is not only do I save money, but from every $100 that I might earn, something else happens, and that is, bam, I have to pay taxes. And let's say that I pay 20% taxes. So there's $20 again. Where did it go? It leaked out of the circular flow. It's a leakage, and you'll notice all the red arrows on here are leakages, out of the circular flow, and it went to the government. And now the Chilean government, in my case, has my $20. Okay, I'm going to move the $20 over to right here, right? $20. Okay, now let's say that I have groceries. I don't need a salad. But I'm thinking, man, you know what? I just finished my book. I want another book. And what do? Oh, I go where I go all the time to buy books. You know where that is? Amazon. But where is Amazon actually located? The company of Amazon. Is it located in Chile? No. It's located outside of Chile. And that's one thing that maybe I should have mentioned at the beginning of this video, is that this circular flow model is per country, right? That's why I was saying, like, look at South Africa, right? Look at Somalia, look at Argentina, look at Chile. It's per country. Look at the UK. Okay. So if there's any money that flows out of the country of wherever you're in, and I'm in Chile, that also is considered a leakage. Okay, so what do? Let's say I go online, I go to Amazon, and I buy a book, like an actual book, not a Kindle. I buy a book, and what happens? Let's say that book also cost $20, right? Well, that money, is it staying in Chile? No. It's leaking out of the circular flow of Chile, and it's going where? To the United States. It's gone. It's in the US now. So, wow. It used to be that all $100 was in the circular flow model, but now guess what? There's $20 that stayed in the bank, there's $20 that was sent to the government, and now I just sent $20 to the US. That's $20, $40, $60 that has leaked out of the circular flow model. Okay? And just to add to that, which breaks from my whole storyline, just to bring in some reality also, is that firms are also charged taxes. Okay? So there would also be a leakage in the money that firms make from their revenue that would leak out into the government, okay? But I'm just recognizing that, but let's just discard that for a second in our little discussion, okay? So now in Chile, we have $20 in the bank, we have $20 with the government, we have $20 in the US. Cool, now we've described this notion of leakages. Now, what's the opposite of a leakage? Well, if you were to add something to a pipe, what would you do? You would inject water into the pipe. Okay, so we're going to inject, not water, because this isn't a circular flow of water thing. It's a circular flow of income. It's a circular flow of money. So we're going to inject what? Money into the system. Well, how is money injected into the system? In 3 different ways. As you can see, if you look, the green arrows. But let's talk about each individual one. What does the bank do with my $20? Do they keep it? No. Why? Because banks are in business to sell money. Just like Pizza Hut is in charge or in business to sell pizza. Banks take my $20 and then $20 of other people, other school teachers, let's say, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. And what do? They take those savings and they take a certain percentage of it, usually around 80 to 90%, depends on the country, and they do what? They offer out loans to businesses, which are considered not leakages, but rather injections into the circular flow model. It's injected in. Wow, so some of that $20 goes back in. That's right, so now it's floating around, right? Okay, what's another form of injection into an economy? Well, remember how the government had my $20? Well, what do governments produce? Governments produce public goods, like they just built this most beautiful skate park right in the community where I live. It's incredible. What else do? Well, they have teachers. They pay for healthcare. They have militaries. Countries pay for an enormous amount of public goods. Street lights, national parks, airports, all the money that governments spend are considered public goods. Does that money then that I paid in my taxes actually get injected back into the economy in the form of a skate park or in the form of road repairs or in the form of new highways? Absolutely it does, okay? So we end up then with an injection back into the economy as a result of government's spending. Pretty cool. So my $20 left the system, but now it's being injected back in. In other words, like my taxes are being used to help the public good by maybe paying for a national healthcare system, okay? So now we have an injection back into the system, right, of the circular flow of income. What's the injection? The injection is the money spent on the public goods. Okay, last thing. Now, remember when I was sitting home and I wanted a new book and I sent $20 off to the United States? Well, let's imagine for a second that there's a woman, she's a Chilena, she's in New York City, she's living away from her country, and she just met this guy and she wants to have like him over for wine, and they're gonna sit on her terrace in a beautiful apartment in New York City and talk for a little while, right? So what does she do? She goes to the store and she buys Chilean wine because she wants to feel like she's at home by drinking a beautiful glass of red Carmenere wine. Beautiful. What does she do? She takes $20 of her money that she earned where? In Chile? No. In the United States. She buys the wine. She goes home, right? She has a beautiful dinner on her terrace. But where does that money that she spent on the Chilean wine actually go? Right back into, you guessed it, the circular flow model of what country? Chile, because that wine came from here, right? Came from Chile. So while I sent $20 to the United States by buying a book, and that got shipped down here, what she did is she bought a bottle of Chilean wine, right? And the money came to Chile, and the wine went to the United States, okay? So this is something that can get confusing because what you're tracking always in the circular flow of income is the circular flow of money. Money. Track the money. And the reason I say that is because remember that I sent money to the United States to get a book, and our minds somehow focus on the fact that the book came to Chile. But we're not talking about the good. We're talking about the money. So imports are leakages. The book comes here, but the money went to the United States and stayed there, okay? Exports are injections because while the wine went to the United States, what came back? US dollars changed into pesos, and that was an injection into the Chilean economy, okay? So look at that aerial view, my friends. That's pretty cool, right? We started this video talking about you looking down on whatever country that you're in. Maybe you're in Nepal, right? And you're looking down at Kathmandu and all the areas and all the trekking going on in Annapurna and out there in Everest. Yeah, and what are they doing? They're buying things, right? There are planes coming from Lukla flying into Kathmandu, and that's all money spent. Some of it's coming from outside, some of it's coming from inside. But the circular flow of income makes a really complex economy into a model, because economists are model builders, okay? And you learn about the circular flow model from the very beginning because now you understand how a macroeconomy works. And then as we continue into our studies of microeconomics, which is of course this course that you purchased, you're going to take a look at, you're going to have a better understanding of what happens on the big so you can understand the small, all right? If you don't understand this, go back and watch it again, okay? Go back and watch it again, or watch sections of it again. Because understanding the circular flow model will give you make you relax because you're like, oh, okay, so I get the big picture how money flows around. And when I go to the store and I buy something, it's actually happening right on this thing, right on this diagram, right? When I go to work, it happens right there. There's just like 17 million people in Chile and they're all doing the same thing. So that can't be really drawn. But if you just think about it in the simple, it works really, really well. All right? Very cool. On to the next video.